and then that way you can download it to your phone or computer, and then you should be able to chop it up any way you want.
Yeah, man. Cool. So you ready?
I'm ready. Let's do this.
Awesome. Well, first of all, I want to just say thank you for making time for, coming on the video or the
Absolutely.
podcast, whatever you want to call it. I know you're busy and you have a lot of things to do. So first of all, thank you. Thank you
Yeah,
for
you're
making time
welcome.
for it.
I love talking about this stuff. So it's even though it's business and it's work, it's always fun for me. It's also great to connect with you again. So, what kind of questions can I answer for you?
Well, there's, I have GLP questions, I have TRT questions, I have peptides, even some of my personal questions that I
Yeah.
want to know more about. But first of all, for like my audience and my followers, if you could go ahead and just introduce yourself, tell us
Yeah,
a little bit about yourself and about LaSara. For those that don't
for
know,
sure.
that'll be a good way to get started.
Yeah, definitely. Well, my name is John Snedegar. I'm the founder of LaSara Medical Group. Our website's lasara.com. So it's LASARA.com. And I function as the CEO of LaSara, but I really do everything. You could find people calling in sometimes and they may end up talking to me, and I end up being the one that helps them get set up on testosterone or facilitated over to our physicians. I do a lot of our marketing. I do a lot of our product development, working with different companies to come up with new and exciting peptides and other formulations that help with increasing testosterone, whatever it may be. So I do quite a bit. I'm very hands-on. Um, and I started the business 8 years ago. We incorporated in November 2017, saw our first patients in January of 2018. And since then, we have just evolved dramatically. We used to just be in person, physical locations in California. Today, we service patients. We actually have patients in all 50 states. So Dr. Karup is our medical director. He's licensed in 50 states, plus a variety of nurse practitioners. Gives us our coverage to really service people no matter where they are. So we have people literally in Anchorage, Alaska, crossing the country down to South Florida, Miami, and then back to Southern California, and then up into Maine. So we literally are everywhere, and everything. It's cool because some people don't have access to these types of treatments, TRT,
Mhm.
peptides, in their towns, and so we can basically deliver these types of things to people in less than 2 days. So that's a little bit about us, about me.
That's really, really, really cool. Something I've noticed, and maybe you can tell me more. I've noticed that these type of like hormone clinics, TRT
Mhm.
clinics, have been growing. Do you think that's gonna be getting like growing more and more to like in the future?
Yeah, I do. So testosterone replacement therapy as a treatment by itself is already a very large uh, population of people seek it out. It's a large market, but it's actually one of the largest or fastest growing treatments that people are exploring and using. And that's a national stat. Can't remember the exact number what the stat is, but like we're expected to have double growth at not us as a company, but TRT in like a general treatment that people are seeking out. It's supposed to go double growth over the course of like 10 years. Um, you are definitely seeing more TRT clinics pop up these days. And that's because there are businesses out there that help facilitate and show you how to set up these types of businesses, which can be a powerful thing and a positive thing if you have somebody that knows how to offer these things up and work with physicians that really know what they're doing. But what we also see on the flip side is that there's just a lot of bad clinics out there that are not necessarily making the best recommendations to people. A lot of times people are getting this sort of cookie cutter approach versus a more customized experience. But that's sort of why there's this growth of TRT clinics that people see.
Yeah, there's also 'cause I hear a lot from like clients and or just gym goers that I meet that
Yeah.
their doctors don't recommend like testosterone, and
Hmm.
I feel like it gives a bad like rep on
Yeah.
TRT. So some of the questions here, hopefully we can get those myths out of the way for people that are curious about these peptides, GLP, TRT,
Yeah.
and so I posted a Instagram story the other day, and I had like a few questions, and a lot of
Yeah.
them were for a GOP. So
Okay.
me myself, I don't know much about it either.
Hmm.
Um, but I've done some research and everything. But this is why I'm interviewing you today. So I'm gonna go ahead and start with this question right here. Like, basically, like, can you break down like what GLP medication like semaglutide really is, and
Yeah,
how it works in the gut, the brain, and why it's so
for sure.
effective? Why it's so effective for weight loss?
Yeah, absolutely. So, your audience and people that follow you, listen to you, a lot of them are gym goers. Maybe some of them are competitors in, physique type competitions. And, you as a trainer, that the number one way to drop weight is to be in a caloric deficit, right? So that's the tried and true. It's challenging for people to stay in a caloric deficit. So think about GLP-1s as a uh, peptide. They are actually peptides that help to stimulate you to feel appetite suppression. So, glucagon like peptide 1, which is what GLP-1 stands for, this is a peptide that you naturally release inside the body when you're ever consuming food. It basically tells you, hey, I'm full, I'm no longer needing to continue eating. Now, a lot of people don't have that signal as strong in their system. So when you are taking a semaglutide, tirzepatide, retatrutide, any one of these medications in this category, it's mimicking that same natural response that you have. So appetite suppression is the first thing that people typically experience. And that is why it can help people get into a caloric deficit and start losing weight so easily. And it does it without the stress of being in a caloric deficit. People can try to commit for a few days and they get through it, but then all of a sudden they throw in the towel for consuming less. So this sort of takes the mental chatter away, and by suppressing your appetite and getting to that point. In addition to that, it slows down your gastric emptying. So if you go eat a meal, not only does that signal happen rather quickly that no longer should you continue eating, but your gastric emptying slows down. And that means that you're going to feel fuller for longer. And in addition to that, it also helps to manage your blood sugar, creates more insulin sensitivity, and can transition your body into burning different fat stores in the body. So a lot of times it helps target visceral fat, which is that fat that surrounds your organs in your gut. So all that together, your appetite suppression, your slowed down gastric emptying, blood sugar control, insulin sensitivity, the fat burning, all those together is what makes it such an effective peptide for weight loss. And it's sort of spread like wildfire over the last few years,
Yeah.
but in a good way. People are being able to kind of take control of their health in a much easier way than stressing about it and doing all these things that may not have they may have failed them in the past.
Yep. And I've seen that, like, growing rapidly. Is it the same as Ozempic?
Yeah, so Ozempic and Wegovy are the branded names, right? So like think about ibuprofen. Advil's ibuprofen, but you can go buy ibuprofen at a Costco. It's the same exact thing without the brand name. So semaglutide is the active ingredient inside of Ozempic and Wegovy. That's what GLP-1 is. Then you have tirzepatide, which is the same active ingredient in Mounjaro and Zepbound. And then there's other ones too, like liraglutide. Retatrutide is another one that's coming out. That's a triple agonist, so it's actually the most effective, the strongest one.
Right.
Still in
I've
studying
seen
phase
that
though.
one. How do you say that? It's hard for me to pronounce.
Yeah, retatrutide.
True tide. Okay,
Yeah,
yeah, I've
yeah. I
seen
think
that
there's.
like just popping off on TikTok a lot.
Oh yeah, oh
Yeah.
yeah.
So is that so you said it's still brand new, it's still getting a lot of studies behind it.
Yeah. So Eli Lilly is the group that um, owns Zepbound and Mounjaro, which is what tirzepatide is, and they are the ones that are have created retatrutide, and they're in. I'm not sure exactly what phase of the research they're in right now, but all the research that's coming back so far is showing really promising results. And it's a little bit different. It's a GLP-1, a GIP, and then there's a third. a third trigger, which I can't remember what it's called, but the three of them together is what's making retatrutide so effective. So I think people are like, some of these people that are using this medication are getting like anywhere from 17 to 22% reduced body fat, whereas semaglutide, the studies were closer to about 12 to 14%. So there's quite a significant jump in retatrutide's effectiveness from some of the other medications.
Okay, yeah, that was one of my personal questions too. I'm glad we got
Yeah,
talked about. Yeah, I'm glad we covered that. Just because I've been seeing it a lot. Now,
yeah.
this is one of my and I'm not gonna mention her name, but it's one of my clients that asked this. She asked, will I lose a lot of muscle if I start GLP-1 with the weight coming off fast or gradual?
Mhm. Yeah, it's a great question, and it's a valid concern. So if you think, we talked about cutting weight earlier, being a caloric deficit, no matter who you are, no matter how much you're eating protein, working out, if you're trying to cut weight, most of the time, bodybuilders, physique, people that compete in physique type competitions, they're going to lose 5 to 10% muscle mass. It's just kind of the
Yeah.
nature of cutting calories, right? So these medications, you're reducing your caloric intake, and so you're going to lose muscle mass. There's ways to combat this. Number one is going to be obviously your fitness, and two is going to be your protein intake and focusing on protein first. So just because you start taking this medication doesn't mean you're going to lose all your muscle mass, but you do have to be critical of the foods you're eating and what you're doing on a day to day, protect your muscle mass.
Right.
So we at Lassara, our medical team, one of the first things that we do when we ask our patients is how many grams of protein they have in a day. We really push people to have at a minimum 1 gram of protein per pound of what their goal weight is. So if you want to weigh 150 pounds, that's your goal weight. You need to eat a minimum 150 grams. You already know, Isaias, that like you really need to be eating more like 2 grams per pound, but
Yeah.
that's a lot of food, right? So we just start with 1 gram and then we go from there. We try to make it more attainable, but that's going to help you protect your muscle mass.
So protein intake matters. Obviously, staying in the gym, working out,
Yep,
all of that, just to preserve muscle. So just the same as like
exactly.
you were in a caloric deficit.
Exactly. Yeah. It's the same exact thing in terms of how you may approach it. It's just different in that, this when you're in a caloric deficit, you're probably and you're maybe cutting weight, you're thinking about food all the time
Yeah.
because you're just not eating as much. But when you're on these medications, you're not thinking about it. Like that's the reason you are so effective at losing weight is it suppresses your appetite and you just don't think about it. But even though you're not thinking about it, that just means it becomes a job, becomes a task that when you do need to go eat, you are focusing on hitting those protein goals through the day. And, for your client, you're going to feel fuller faster. So instead of doing just, 2 meals a day or what her style of eating is, it's better to graze throughout the day, small amounts of protein through the day. That's going to be the best thing you can do. And it makes it a lot easier to hit those goals.
Wow. Okay. Cool. Cool. No, that makes sense. And so like the next question would be like, what's the average or realistic weight loss timeline for like
Yeah.
most of the patients that you've
Yeah.
worked with in the past?
So the more weight you have to lose in the beginning, the faster it comes off. So we will have patients, maybe they have 100 pounds of weight to lose. And we've seen people lose anywhere from 3 to 10 pounds per week. Now, that for someone that only has 20 pounds of weight to lose is not necessarily a safe or medically recommended thing. But for somebody that has a lot of inflammation in their body, a lot more extra body fat to lose, like the example of 100 pounds, you may lose a lot faster in the beginning. In general, though, a good healthy rate of weight loss is about half a pound to 3 pounds per week. And the reason that's like a healthy rate is not only is that's a safe rate of weight loss, but you're it's less likely to lose muscle mass. Your skin can rebound from that type of rate of weight loss. So instead of having what people describe as like Ozempic face or get wrinkles, your body's elasticity can basically adjust to how quickly you're losing that weight. Um, and everyone's different. Like we always recommend to people, like, don't just focus on the scale. A lot of it's body composition. You might be looking in the mirror, making a bunch of changes. You're seeing the scale go down, but all of a sudden it stops. But if you're only looking at the scale, you might feel defeated. But if you're looking in the mirror and you're like, whoa, well, I just went from a size 38, now I'm a size 32, and my arms are filling out my shirt because I'm more muscular, I'm more lean. Like that's that's a positive thing, right? So,
Right.
while pounds is one component, 1 to 3 pounds again, per week is good, a good rate of weight loss. It's not everything.
Right, okay, okay. No, that makes sense though. It's just like, it's just like if we were doing it without it. Like,
Yeah,
you're aiming for, realistically a good rate of weight loss is 1 or 2 pounds, right?
yeah, yeah,
Three. I mean, like you said, it depends on the individual how much they have to lose.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's also an average too. Like, there might be a week where you don't lose anything, but then, but if you look at how much weight you've lost over the last 4 weeks, and week one you lost 2 pounds, week one you lost nothing, and then week three and four, each week you lost, call it 1.5 pounds. Well, now you've lost 5 pounds over the course of 4 weeks. So that would be a healthy rate of weight loss, right? So there's some weeks you may not lose as much, other weeks you may lose more. Um, but it's a long-term play when you're trying to lose weight. It doesn't come off as fast as people would like it to,
Right.
but that's why it takes a little bit of commitment.
Okay. Okay. Cool. All right. Moving on. So let's see. Now, okay. So if the patient, gets to that weight goal she wants to get
Yeah.
to, like, long-term maintenance is a big concern. And
Hmm.
what's the what's the typical pattern when patients discontinue GLP-1? And
Yeah.
what would be a good strategy for them to keep the weight off?
Yeah. So there's really three things that we have upfront and early on discussions with our patients. Is that once you hit your weight loss goal, there's really three options. One is that you go cold turkey and just stop the medication altogether. Second, you would slowly taper off. So let's say you reached a dose of semaglutide. The highest dose is 2.4 milligrams a week. Let's say you hit that dose. Over the following 8 to 12 weeks, you may slowly taper down, reducing that dose. Now you have some hunger start to come back, and it gives you time, or a easy time to adjust and not relying on the medication. Or third option is maintenance. So maintenance means you would stay on the medication, but you're going to be on the lowest possible dose that helps you maintain the weight that you've achieved, but without losing weight. So a maintenance dose commonly for semaglutide, as an example, is usually between 0.25 milligrams up to 1.25 milligrams per week. Everyone can be a little bit different, but that can help you maintain that weight that you've lost. Regardless of which strategy you choose, whether it's small maintenance dose consistently, tapering off, or going cold turkey, it's all about implementing lifestyle decisions while you're on the medication. And that's how, it's probably what you tell your own clients, right? It's hitting your protein goals, it's getting some exercise, whether that be cardio or some resistance training or HIIT training, and other things like reducing stress in your life, having good habits of sleep. These are all things that you can implement. And now, as you've come off the medication or you're in maintenance, and you're using those types of tools to help you keep the weight off. And that will help so you don't rebound and start to regain the weight back.
Okay, okay. So yeah, I mean, yeah, because we hear it a lot. Once you come off, you get it all back, and it's just there's ways to do it right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
totally. And like the truth is, like, it might take, 2, 3 times to figure out what works for you. We've had patients that lost 40 pounds, and then they said, hey, I want to try to go cold turkey and see if I can do this on my own. And they may gain a few pounds back and they say, hey, that was a little tougher than I thought. Let me do a maintenance dose and then, start working with a fitness trainer and
Mhm.
dialing my nutrition a little bit more. So, these GLP-1s, you can come on and off them as much as you want. Ideally, you implement something in your lifestyle that helps you keep the weight off without using the medication. But there's a lot of other benefits to these medications that people can experience. And so nobody has to, like, you don't have to feel defeated if you need to come back to use the medication or you need to do a maintenance plan. Everyone's on their own journey and to, keep the weight off and feel the benefits of having lost weight. I mean, whatever it takes. So
Right. And what was like the longest someone can be on GLP? Or it's
So
just
you can be on GLP-1s for years. We have a patient, I mean, we've been offering this medication since the end of 2022. And uh, we have patients that have been using the medication for the last 3 years and where they have achieved their goal. And then they are now on a maintenance plan. So there's really not going to be, I mean, there is more research happening right now, but there's not a lot of risk in long-term use of this peptide. And you've probably even seen people talk about this, but people are noticing improvements in their liver, in their cardiovascular health, reducing inflammation, and that's all stemming from these GLP-1s. So I think that as time even rolls on, people may find that they even use these medications for all sorts of other use cases. So you can stay on them really for a longer period of time, years if
okay.
you need to.
All right, awesome. Awesome. And then so of course, everything comes with like some sort of side effects.
Yeah.
Any medication has some side effects. Like, can you explain like some of the side effects of semaglutide?
Yeah, so side effects of semaglutide, they're actually the same as tirzepatide and retatrutide. The most common ones are going to be nausea, indigestion, acid reflux. Sometimes headaches can be common, and those are really the main ones. Now, a lot of these side effects can be avoided. Usually it stems from being dehydrated, a lack of water, eating foods that are high in fat or fried or heavily spiced. Um, and then acid reflux is because your gastric emptying is slowed down typically. So if you can eat a really clean diet, focus more on bland foods, staying hydrated, have some electrolytes each day, that's going to help you overcome those types of side effects. Some of the more serious side effects could be gastroparesis, um, impacting your thyroid or your pancreas. Uh, Most of the time, you can determine if somebody is going to experience something like this uh, prior to them starting. Though there's a series of medical history questions that sort of weed out these types of patients.
Right.
So
So it's not
yeah,
for everybody.
it's not for everybody. No, pregnant women that are breastfeeding, you
Right.
cannot take this medication. Um, Type 1 diabetics cannot take this medication.
Oh,
People with history of pancreatitis, thyroid cancer, gastroparesis, like any of that type of history, you can't take this medication.
right.
Most of the time, though, like the majority of people that are exploring these medications, it ends up being something that they can take. And most pregnant women and women that are breastfeeding typically know that they need to get through that part of that experience of being a mother before they can go back to using a medication like this.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Because I was curious about like who is it for? Who would like you said weed out this
Yeah,
type of peptide? Because I have a follower who is considering like GLP therapy,
yeah,
but he wants to know if it could interact with their current medications.
sure.
Now, some of the medications here, like B12, uh, D3, iron, uh, magnesium oxide, and I can't say this one right here. It's like, it's for your like muscle cramps.
Uh-huh.
No, no, sorry. It's for underactive thyroid. Levo thyroid.
Levothyroxine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
levothyroxine. These are hard words. And then
Yeah.
lobustane, lobustane. It's for
Losartan.
cholesterol for
Okay.
yeah, and then pantoprazole. She's like on a lot of medications,
Yeah.
and then pramipixole, something like that. Restless leg. Yeah, but
Yeah.
yeah. So what would you say with like for someone that's taking like a few medications?
Yeah. So what I would say for anybody that wants to explore GLP-1, but they're already on a bunch of other medications, is to fill out a medical form and set up a consultation with us. The reason that people like to work with us is that you don't have to pay to go and have a consult with our medical team. We much rather you feel super confident in the experience of working with us and ask these types of questions. I'm not a physician and I'm not a nurse practitioner. While I know a lot about these things, at the end of the day, I would say let's leave it up to the professionals and make
Right.
sure they can safely take it. In general, though, levothyroxine and some of these other medications you mentioned, magnesium, B12, these are vitamins. In general, there is not going to be a interaction between a GLP-1 medication and those medications that could make it be unsafe for a patient. Even though that's a general statement, again, set up a call with our team.
Yeah.
If that follower is in the United States, we can take care of them, and in the same day, oftentimes we can set them up to have that call and ask those types of questions.
Perfect. Yeah, awesome. Well, that's it with the GOP questions, and
Okay, cool.
moving on to the good stuff. Something I've learned in the past, and I've done a lot of research. Working with you guys, and just being on the medication.
Yeah,
Testosterone replacement therapy. I've been on it for 2 years, and honestly, like it did definitely change my life. Got more
yeah,
confidence. Became more like just more mental clarity, more energy, more muscle mass, and just feeling good. And I'm glad to be able to do this in a safe manner. Like doing
yeah.
it in a safe way. Now, I have some TRT questions here from some of my Instagram followers. They want to know, can enclomiphene be used alone instead of TRT? And is it safe long term?
hmm Yeah, it is. So enclomiphene can be used by itself to naturally stimulate the production of testosterone. So basically, how the body works and how your testicles produce testosterone is that there's a hormone called LH, which comes from the pituitary gland, which signals the testicles to produce testosterone. And taking medications like enclomiphene, HCG is also another great one. Both of these medications are essentially mimicking LH, luteinizing hormone, and telling the testicles to produce more testosterone. So when people take it, usually they will have a significant jump in their testosterone, anywhere from 200 points. I've seen as high as jumping up 500 points on the total testosterone. Um, Now, while you can get a big boost in your testosterone levels, whatever benefit you get after those first 3 months in terms of how much your testosterone increases is typically the ceiling. Like it's not gonna keep going up the longer you take it.
Now, would enclomiphene be considered natural? Like, how because I have people that want to take testosterone, but they're too young,
Yeah,
and they want to do it just because to increase their testosterone to be able to produce more muscle mass, to have more muscle
yeah,
mass. Now, is it considered natural? Like,
yeah.
you know what I mean?
Great question. So, the everyone gets caught up, in this space, right? Like, well, I'm all natural bodybuilder or whatever it is, right? The way to think about these things is you're basically giving your body something to tell it to go do something natural, right? Like you're triggering your body to produce testosterone. So from my perspective, yeah, I do think that using something like enclomiphene or HCG to stimulate testosterone production is natural, right? Compared to say injecting testosterone, that would not necessarily be considered natural because you're injecting a testosterone directly in your body. Now, is testosterone natural and you're basically just filling up your cup with more testosterone that your body naturally uses? For sure. But from a comparison perspective, I would think that enclomiphene and HCG are natural, but
We're
everyone's going to have their own
supernatural.
opinion, right?
We're supernatural.
Yeah,
Yeah.
supernatural.
Yeah. What's it called? What was I gonna say? So I'm just curious to see like if it comes off, like it comes out on the WADA test, like the
Uh-huh.
banned substances. I haven't checked,
Uh,
but because when I was competing in natural bodybuilding,
yeah,
I never I don't know if enclomiphene was like big back when I was competing around
yeah,
that time, because I just started learning about enclomiphene this year. I didn't even know it was a
yeah.
thing. Like if I knew, I feel like if I knew about enclomiphene a little bit more before I started testosterone replacement therapy, I feel like I would have gone that route, you know, just to be,
First, yeah,
yeah, but I just did not know about it. Um,
yeah,
but that's good to know. Because I've gotten that question before, even like at the gym
yeah.
about enclomiphene.
And in clomiphene too, like the way that people should look at it, or that should they can look at it, is that enclomiphene and HCG are going to be your most conservative options to try to overcome low testosterone symptoms or to get a boost in testosterone for physiological or psychological or sexual benefit. And if they don't work for you or you don't have a significant boost, then a traditional TRT route is always going to be there. So for someone that wants to tread softly and or tread lightly, enclomiphene HCG are great options to see what benefit you can experience.
Okay, cool. All right, next question. Now, is it possible or can you take TRT and enclomiphene together?
Yes, absolutely. So the other reason men take enclomiphene and or take HCG is because it keeps or increases your sperm count. So when you start on testosterone replacement therapy, you're essentially telling your body that you're getting testosterone from elsewhere. So it can shut down the production of your sperm count. And that just means that you become less likely to conceive. When you take enclomiphene, it's just keeping that engine working. So you'll maintain your sperm count so that you don't lose your fertility. There's also benefits too. It keeps your natural testosterone production up. So not only are you getting your testosterone from an injectable or topical or what have you, you also have the benefit of your own natural production.
Yeah, see, this is why I should have, understand a little bit more about enclomiphene before, because I basically just went straight TRT.
Yeah.
And but yeah, we'll come back to that question I have for you later. A
Okay.
little bit more about that. Right now, I want to just ask, is there is there a difference between enclomiphene and clomiphene, like the clomid?
Yeah.
Like, so what's
Yeah.
the difference between that?
So I will struggle to say the exact difference
Right.
in terms of the molecular makeup. Um, in clomiphene versus clomid, they are essentially in the same category of drug in the same family, and they do the same thing. It's just the way that the molecule is, what form the molecule is sitting in. I don't know exactly the core difference of how that makeup is.
Mhm.
I'd have to maybe check with our pharmacy to answer that question specifically, but they do the same thing. So if somebody's saying, "Hey, I'm on TRT and Clomid," or "I'm on TRT and enclomiphene," they're both going to be achieving the same goal.
Right. No, that's what I figured, because I would hear about clomid a lot when I was doing my research, and how it's good to add that for your post cycle therapy,
Yeah,
to get your natural testosterone back. And it just sounds the same. So I wanted to know if they were the same or slightly different. But no, that was good though. So like we know enclomiphene helps preserve fertility while on TRT.
yeah.
But is there a testosterone dosage where like fertility will eventually shut down? Like let's say you're taking them together, Is there a way like a high dose of testosterone? Can that
Mhm.
would that like make the clomiphene not work, or do you
No,
get what I'm
no,
saying?
it won't matter.
Doesn't matter.
So if you're taking in clomiphene for the sake of preserving your sperm count and keeping your natural testosterone production happening, it doesn't matter if you're doing 100 milligram testosterone dose, 150, a 200 or 250 milligram testosterone dose. Either way, you're getting testosterone and your body is recognizing that and stopping its natural production. So when you take in clomiphene, it's just keeping that engine moving, and it's not going to be impacted based on the size of that testosterone dose.
Okay. No, that was one I was wondering because like what if someone's taking like 500 milligrams of
Yeah,
testosterone?
yeah.
That's
So
a
these
very
like
high.
that is a very high dose. These like super physiological dosages, 500 milligram testosterone a week. Sometimes I hear people doing even more per week. Um, I don't necessarily know if I answered the question of how enclomiphene would impact someone's testosterone or sperm count at that high of a dose. I would just be sort of making it up because I don't actually know. We don't prescribe patients dosages that high. I think the highest dose we prescribed is 300 milligrams a week, and usually that's because we have somebody that's been on testosterone for many years, um, and they're bodybuilder, there's something in that type of category, and everything else in their blood tests are in a really good state. So there's no concern of being at that high of a dose. Um, but in terms of like these super high doses, I, I really don't know how that would how it may interact with the enclomiphene.
Yeah, it's I guess it does depend like trial and error. Like I mean, someone
Yeah,
doing this is basically like the lab rat, and
right.
yeah, I feel like yeah, I don't know. I mean, I thought about taking clomiphene just to get my fertility back.
Yeah,
It's my according to my blood work, my L is it LH, right?
LH. Yep.
And FSH are like very very low.
Yeah,
Yeah. So,
yeah.
but yeah, I'll come back to that question later. Now that's more of a
Okay.
personal question I'm gonna ask you about.
Yeah.
Um, so like one of the biggest concerns about like TRT, it's like if let's say like kind of like what we talked about earlier about GOP, someone
Yeah.
stopped taking TRT, after taking it for like for example me like 2 years, right? Um,
Yeah.
like how much natural testosterone production like realistically can recover? Like can I recover?
Hmm.
Like how much would I like I've been taking it for 2 years, so I'm pretty sure it's gonna if I were to stop that,
Hmm.
it would take like I don't know like a little longer than
Yeah. So if you stop taking testosterone, what's going to happen is your natural testosterone production is going to just drop back down to what it was prior to you starting testosterone replacement therapy, or most likely even a little bit lower.
lower. That's what I've
But
heard.
yeah, but you also have to, realize is like the body's super resilient. And, if you were taking something, if someone's just taking testosterone and they're not adding in a bunch of other anabolics or, things that are more from the black market that can absolutely tank and crush your endocrine system, then your body will recover and will start producing testosterone again. And just like some of these other types of performance enhancing cycles that someone may do, if you start on TRT and you stop, and clomiphene, HCG, Clomid, these are things that you can start taking that will start to get your natural testosterone reduction back up. And then someone can potentially stop the TRT and see how they feel. And if they're still able to, to maintain their muscle mass and their cognitive function and their energy and all these things.
Yeah, because that's basically gonna lead up to my personal question. Like, I guess this is the perfect time to ask you right now. Like, me and my girlfriend, let's say we want to have kids in the future,
Yeah.
and for example, I've been on TRT for 2 years.
Yeah.
Um, what would be the good like post psychotherapy protocol
Hmm.
for someone like me so I can start, getting the fertility back? getting my natural testosterone production back?
Yeah. So HCG is actually a peptide hormone, and it is what we recommend for fertility. Like if someone's trying to stop testosterone replacement therapy, or stay on it and then just regain the strength of their fertility. And it's also important to know that just because you're on TRT doesn't mean that you're not going to be able to conceive. There are plenty of men that conceive successfully while on TRT, and they're not taking HCG or enclomiphene. I think that's actually kind of one of the myths out there is if you start TRT, you're not going to have kids. The reality is it just lowers your sperm count. So that post cycle or even staying on TRT, I recommend that HCG is the go-to. For somebody that has not been on HCG, we typically start them at a higher dose. Usually it's 1,000 IU 3 times a week to sort of jumpstart their sperm production. If somebody's on TRT today and they're taking HCG and they started them together, usually that dose can be a bit lower, sometimes closer to 500 IU 3 times a week. So there's definitely options depending upon where somebody's at. And HCG is incredibly safe. So like even working with a fertility doctor, you can go in and do a sperm test and see the quality of your sperm. And that way, you know where you're at maybe before you get started or where you're at while you're trying to conceive.
I need to do that because
Yeah.
we talked about it, and obviously it's in mind for the future.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to know, like, maybe I can add ACG with my TRT for now. Well, first of all, I gotta make sure I get a sperm test, and then we'll I guess I can see from there, But that would be a good combo, right? ACG while on TRT.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, HCG while on TRT. HCG is a more expensive drug than clomiphene. So a lot of guys choosing clomiphene over HCG. There's pros and cons to each one. HCG is a sub-Q injection, and clomiphene is an oral medication. But I do think that people tend to have more performance, like physiological performance, when they take HCG compared to taking enclomiphene.
Hold on, give me a second.
You're on mute though.
Okay, there you go.
There you go.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
I can hear you good.
I'm using my this camera now.
Okay, cool.
It's because it was battery exhausted.
Yeah. No worries.
As long as we get the questions out of the way, we're almost there.
Yeah, right on.
But yeah, that was my biggest concern. Like, what would be my post psychotherapy, or if I should just stay on TRT and just add enclomiphene or ACG,
Yeah.
Something
either one's gonna be effective, and it's gonna help. And then going in and checking the quality of your sperm, going to a fertility doctor is obviously going to give you the clearest answer. But anyone, HCG and clomiphene, adding it with your TRT protocol, any guy that wants to conceive, that's a younger gentleman, we're typically recommending that just to be safe.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I wish someone would have explained to me about enclomiphene earlier on, but it's all good.
Don't you have children?
Nah,
No kids. Okay. I thought you had kids.
I have a dog.
Okay, there you go.
You might have heard my nephew and niece before in the background, probably.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
But when I'm making my videos and they're just like,
Yeah.
and screaming. But no, yeah. Just a dog. Yeah, just a dog dad right now.
Nice.
Yeah, let's see. Like, we all like, obviously alcohol, drinking alcohol, it's not good whether you're on TRT or you're not. But
Yeah.
like if what would be like the total amount of drinks someone is like, I guess, allowed to have without affecting any hormones or any liver,
Yeah.
on TRT? Is there anything like, I know it depends, obviously.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I actually just there was just a study, like a more recent study that I just saw. I just saw the headline of it. I never got to read the details of it, but it talks about if you have alcohol in your system within like 4 to 6 hours of a workout,
Right.
it crushes your chance of hypertrophy by, I think it was like 30%. So
Dang.
alcohol is fun,
Right.
but it's gonna it crushes a lot of those benefits. And people that are big drinkers, it's very common to have low testosterone. I mean, it messes with that with your natural production for sure.
Yeah, because one of my guys that got on the program, he's feeling good. He's gaining muscle. He's training still, but he just has a little too much fun, and
Yeah,
I don't think it's affecting him.
yeah,
He's getting his blood work done this week, so we'll see.
okay,
Even me, like when I was like 2 years ago, my ALT and my liver enzymes were in range, even like
yeah,
by drinking.
yeah,
Yeah. So, but I
yeah,
was never really a big drinker. So,
yeah. The other thing you to think about, if you're on testosterone replacement therapy and you're doing whatever your dose is called, 150 milligrams,
hmm,
and you're sitting at a total testosterone of 950, well, that's because you're injecting testosterone, right? So for somebody that's going out and crushing a 12 pack of beers,
hmm,
they're still also, if they're remembering to do their testosterone injection, their testosterone is going to maintain, right?
right.
Compared to say somebody that isn't on testosterone, they're
Yeah.
relying on their production. Now your testosterone is, really being produced primarily when you're sleeping, right? So if you're sleeping poorly because you're drinking too much, that's going to impact someone that's not on TRT.
See, I think that's how I messed up my natural production. Like
Yeah,
when I first got my initial blood work, it was because I was not sleeping. I was just partying a lot. I was working 12 hours too.
yeah,
So I feel like I tested I got my blood work at the wrong time.
yeah,
Honestly, I feel like I could have, you know, raised it up naturally. It's just
yeah,
like I saw the number at like 400, being like 27 years old at the time. And I was just like, I checked the year prior and it was like a seven something. So that was
yeah,
good. But then I
yeah,
saw that drop in a year. So I'm
yeah,
like, damn. So that's when I
yeah,
was, you know what, give me the medication. I'm going on TRT. It's all
yeah,
good. Yeah. But no, it definitely, like, I hit puberty again. Like
yeah.
it's it was amazing. Obviously, like after a while, it starts to just balance out. You don't really feel
Hmm.
that like anymore.
Right.
But there'll be times where like I think you told me before, like sometimes your testosterone, it goes in waves.
Yeah,
Um, I'll feel that like energy, especially after a good
absolutely.
night's sleep. And no, yeah, I mean I still feel those, that high energy.
Yeah. When people, I will sometimes, it becomes your new norm, right? If you're on testosterone and you used to be at 400, all of a sudden you're at 1,000, and then you're sitting at 1,000 for the next year. Now that's your new norm. Like most men, they have forgotten about what they felt like when their testosterone was at 400,
Mm.
and so they're not having that much of a profound experience each week. And we see it all the time where guys will say, "Oh, well, I'm not really seeing the benefits as much anymore. I think I'm going to stop TRT." And they stop TRT and they call us back a month later and they're like, "Oh, wait a second. I remember now what I was feeling like before I started TRT."
Yeah,
So yeah, it's a common thing to not have that sort of dramatic reaction once you've been on it for a long time.
yeah. But that first, like, that first month is the best. Was the best
Yeah,
month.
yeah,
All right. So, we're almost getting there to the end. Um, these next questions are peptide questions. Like,
yeah.
I'm not too familiar. I'm familiar with some, but
Okay.
there's some that I checked the website the other day, and I was like, oh, they got injectable L-carnitine. I've been wanting to try
Yeah,
that. So,
yeah,
if someone wanted to explore injectable L-carnitine, what's like the medically appropriate way to approach dosing and monitoring, and like
yeah.
to compare it to like oral supplements and effectiveness?
Okay. So I'll answer the second part of your question first. So L-carnitine is a intramuscular injection.
Yeah.
You're going to get the highest level of absorption that way. And so when you compare it to an oral supplement, they really can't even be compared. It's very common even in certain peptides where, like, if you're taking, for example, sermorelin, which is a growth hormone peptide, you would inject 400 micrograms for your daily dose. But if you're consuming it orally, you're typically taking anywhere from 600 to 1,000 micrograms because you're not getting that same level of absorption. The same thing really applies to all these types of medications. So L-carnitine, we always recommend the injectable route.
Of
Now,
course.
from a medical perspective, so if somebody wants to start L-carnitine, they can go right to our website and fill out a medical form and purchase it right from the website. After that purchase, our medical team reviews that person and makes sure that they can safely take it before everything gets shipped out. If we find that that person, is pregnant and breastfeeding, then we'll refund them and notify them to get in touch with us in 6 months or what have you. But we make it super easy on the website just to go in and purchase these things. The nice thing about everything we offer is, while they do provide a lot of profound benefits to people, they're not dangerous. So it's not like you have to have this really detailed consultation to try a lot of these peptides or try something like an L-carnitine. If
Yep.
somebody does want to, though, our medical team, we schedule same day consults all the time. So if someone can have a chat with our nurse practitioner and ask about every single peptide we have and figure out which one's best for them.
Yeah, I'm actually thinking about it, about L-carnitine. So
Yeah,
probably talk to you about that later.
yeah, definitely.
And then also Cialis. I can't that how do you say the actual proper word?
Yeah, tadalafil.
Tadalafil. Yeah. Okay.
Tadalafil, yeah.
Obviously that's like a sexual health medication. Um,
Hmm.
but like a lot of bodybuilders and gym goers, including myself, like I've noticed stronger pumps and better
Hmm.
contraction in my muscles, right?
Yeah,
Now, from a medical perspective, like what do you think about using Cialis before a workout?
yeah. So taking a 5 milligram tadalafil or Cialis prior to a workout, totally safe, and people do it all the time, and you do get quite a bigger pump because these medications are vasodilators, so they're opening up your vessels, and so you're having that, more of that pump and dilation experience. Anything above 5 milligrams, our medical team most likely is going to say not to take that much.
Oh yeah.
You don't want to be walking around the gym with a pump, and also maybe your gym shorts looking a little tighter, you know.
You're
So,
totally
um, so yeah, we recommend. If someone wants to test it out, 5 milligrams is definitely a safe thing, and that's also something else you can get on our website too. Um, yeah, so these all those medications, just vasodilators, is essentially what they're doing.
Yeah, cool. And then like hair loss, like it's common with anabolic steroids and
Mhm.
even testosterone, with the DHT.
Yep.
Um, like can treatments like minoxidil or finasteride, like can they actually prevent or reverse hair loss?
Yeah. Yeah, it can. So finasteride and minoxidil as oral medications, also as topical. So just applying it to your scalp, typically in the evening before you go to bed. Both are great options to combat and also stimulate hair growth. For guys that are losing hair because they're on TRT, you it doesn't happen to everybody. Obviously you got a good head of hair, and it's typically because you have male pattern baldness. So when you have increased testosterone, that just increases your DHT, and DHT is what can progress somebody's hair loss that they're already experiencing. So both options are great for men.
Yeah, because I've noticed, well, it was not from TRT for sure. It was definitely from anabolic steroids that, you know, that I feel like made my hairline a little bigger. But I started applying finasteride tropical,
Yeah,
and I can definitely tell the difference.
yeah,
So, but this is why I've stayed like away from that
yeah.
for a while now, and just taking care of myself, just TRT, and that's it.
Yeah. Do you think, or do you notice a difference between, like, just doing TRT and, doing like whatever their anabolic steroid it was?
100%,
Yeah.
100%. like um just the strength, just like from the what do you call it? The androgenic
Yeah.
anabolics. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sure you're familiar with a lot of anabolics. Are you?
Yeah. Like Anavar and all those types of ones.
Primobolan, yeah.
Yeah.
Those two, Primobolan and Anavar, have always been like my favorite, just because on the research that I've done, seem to be like the most safest and
Yeah.
effective. So I've always stick to the most mild stuff. But obviously, when I'm getting ready for a show, I take like all these other compounds, you
Yeah.
know, a lot of orals, and I feel like I just noticed, obviously more muscle. I mean, it's just it's way, you get better results with anabolic steroids. Um,
Yeah.
but it's not safe in the long run, especially like my liver. I noticed
Yeah.
my liver went, I think it was in the 100s,
Okay.
right? Yeah, but it was just because of the orals.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, definitely can tell the difference.
Right.
But I was able to stay, I was able to keep most of my gains. So
Were you?
yeah, of course. I mean,
Nice.
if I treat myself, good, if I take care of myself with the good diet and still go to the gym, then yeah, I would.
Yeah.
You're gonna maintain that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
cool.
awesome.
Yeah, but I appreciate everything you do for Lassara, and thank you for getting me. It's honestly been a life changing therapy, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Like,
It's
I never,
awesome.
like, I've always felt like I didn't have the highest testosterone when I was in high school. So I
Hmm.
definitely feel like I've just gotten way better in any aspect with
Yeah.
TRT.
Yeah. That's awesome. I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah,
And
basically, yeah, I'm better for sure.
yeah,
Um,
that's awesome. Well, we can always, whenever you're wanting to talk or do a follow up with, the medical team and talk about clomiphene or HCG or L-carnitine, just let me
mhm.
know. We'll set it up for you.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because there's a lot of things that I've always been that guy that likes to try things, that likes to try
Yeah.
different, um, I wouldn't say drugs, but
Yeah.
things that can enhance your, or improve your lifestyle,
Right.
basically.
Of course.
Oh man. So yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. That was literally an hour, so that's good.
Yeah. Cool. Hey, man. Well, if, after you cut these up and start posting them, and if you feel like you get good feedback, like happy to do this anytime you want.
Yeah, yeah. Yes, let me know if can you send the whole file too?
Yeah. I'll send the whole thing. It'll come to you as a link and you should be able to download it.
Okay, cool. Hopefully it comes out good with the camera, not with the camera dying, but it's all good. I
Yeah.
mean, it's this is actually the first time I do this.
Yeah. Yeah. The first one's always going to be the toughest, and, we'll figure it out. And again, like if you want to redo this or do it again and do other types of questions, like I'm happy to do whatever you want.
Okay, awesome, man. Well, I appreciate your time.
Yeah. Likewise.
All right, man. I'll talk to you later.
All right, buddy. Talk to you later.
Bye.